We have a great show today. Today's topic, Dr. Josh Cochran eliminates his income tax with large equipment, and you can too. With me, as always, is Reid Faldet, the Sultan of Smart Money. Reid, how are we today?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Workout was good. Got in some good pump.
Yep. Went through my asset management calls, and today was upper body. Last week it was legs, which is never fun because then if I try to get on the calls, I'm like huffing and puffing when I have to speak,
Yeah,
and so I'm
yeah.
like trying not to sound strained. But so today was a little bit easier, so
Those,
that was
those
good.
leg muscles are large muscles. Use those well. You're tired.
Squats, deadlifts, I still do kind of that old school stuff. So yeah, it got me gassed, but this week was good.
You're good. All right. Well, we split our show into two pieces. So the first part of the show is in the news and weekly updates, and we do this so people can focus on what they want to listen to. So, and then the second part of the show, which we'll separate out, will be our topic today. So, in the news, Read anything interesting in the news for you this week?
Oh, I think you and I were discussing before just a little bit more. I keep trying to follow the Fed and where interest rates are going to be in the treasury market a little bit. It's constantly moving. It's hard to pin down. As soon as you think a full rate cut or a 50 basis point cut is coming, they kind of like, oh, here's the new inflation data. Maybe we won't have it. It's hard to, so I keep going kind of having this up and down roller coaster with interest rates. What are you seeing as far as interest rates go? Are you seeing a high likelihood? What's kind of the likely cut based on
Yeah.
right now?
2 points. I'll answer your question with the second point. The first point is what I learned during COVID. There were so many governmental changes going through with COVID that I would just read the news all day, like every day, trying to be on top of things, and it drove me crazy. So what I've learned is focus on the controllables, right? So be aware of what's happening with the government and the news. So don't be on an island in the dark, right? You want to kind of see these things coming so you can take advantage of them. But at the same time, like reel it back, right? So maybe 5 minutes a day, just keeping updated on things is enough. I just know it's common to you, common to me, common to most of my buddies. It's so easy to dive into the uncontrollables and focus on those. So interest rates, yeah, I mean, for you and me, this is the interest rates. I'm like, why do we focus on this so much? This is big money for us. Anytime an interest rate drops, let's say like 50%, 50 basis points or 100 basis points, you and I might refi a property, and that might be 500,000 to $1 million into the pockets of ourselves and the other investors alongside us, right? So when when we hear a 50-point basis drop or 100-point basis drop over 6 months, you and I hear 500 to $1 million, right? So that's why we focus on this. And the second part of this is loan acquiring loans. On the front end of a project, same kind of thing. It's the math is kind of crazy. If I'm putting cash into a project to get it started with a bank, a quarter 25 basis point change in the interest rate, might change how much money I'm putting in by $100 to $300,000, right? Like in my bank account versus out of my bank account, right? So these little changes for you and me are very significant.
Yep.
And once we get
There's
fixed, you'll go for it.
Oh, so you're going to go into the fix, but there's probably two different ways to think about this in terms of for us. One is we are either acquiring a property or refinancing a property. Both are going to affect us, right? On the front end of ownership, like you said, with those initial rates and underwriting it. And then if we can refinance, it's going to change our cash flow, but also maybe how much money we can pull out, right? If we're finalizing debt. But the thing too, for on some of our development projects, and I'm sure you feel this as well, is the carrying cost before you go vertical, right? Is like that is like we just had to refund our interest reserves or looking to extend a loan for a development project, and the bank requires you to put in your interest reserves. And if you're talking 7, $10 million property and your interest rate is 7, 8% on a development loan, I mean, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that you have to just put into the bank in interest reserves. So that changes your underwriting quite a bit and how much capital you need.
100%. And on that note too, I mean, there are strategies around that. If you have good graces with HUD, one of my neighbors, he's been developing for 40 years. We were chatting this week. They're a large development group, California, Washington, and they're locking up 6.25% with HUD with a 40-year amortization, right? And so, yeah, these interest rates make a big deal. The other piece that I've noticed, and this is, since interest rates started going up, like this is so clear to me now, is interest rates are the number one driver of our economy. When I look at private equity, right? I have shares in the practices that I transitioned, right? It's private equity backed. For us to sell our shares to the in private equity always works. There's small fish, medium fish, big fish, and then like going public or like teachers funds, like huge CalPERS, California's Teachers Fund, right? That's kind of the tiers. And if you're a small or medium fish, for you to sell and get cash for your shares, the bigger fish have to be biting.
Mhm.
And whether the bigger fish have money or not is completely related
Yeah.
to liquidity in the market, which is completely related to the interest rates. And so everything is just growth is interest rate based in our economy so much. So
Yeah.
I wish I
That
could be
makes
more
sense.
specific about that concept, and I will
Well,
on this episode and others, but just do not forget that like a happy economy, a growing economy, the value of your shares in real estate, the value of your shares in your private equity, in your dental group, all these things are directly correlated with interest rates. Whether a project you've invested in, turns over in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, directly related to interest rates, right? I've got 4 projects right now that are all paying to pro forma. They're all doing well. And when I chat with my investors on our yearly calls, it's like, okay, timelines here, like these are all doing well. I will tell you that if I'm running these or these other folks are running these, if we get a drop in interest rates, values are going to jump up, and all of a sudden, all the investors now are at a 2x their money, right? And we're going to turn these properties to either put money in people's pockets or 1031 that money into the next project and keep rolling it, right? Maximizing returns for folks. And that is completely interest rate dependent. We're raising rents, we're doing everything on our end, but if you don't have that fundamental interest rate, low interest rate underneath that's creating larger property values because the buyer is going to base their ability to buy the property based off of the debt they can get, right? How cheap is
yep.
the debt to cash flow, right? And so the cheaper the debt, the more they can pay.
And just one more thing on this is I was seeing the stat, and this is reflected both on like Berkshire Hathaway, right, keeping so much cash, but there was just I think there's like a record number of I can't remember what the number is or volume in money market accounts right now, right? Like some of the highest numbers in money market accounts ever, which is just cash sitting on the side. And it's because interest rates are really high, so they can get a pretty good yield just leaving them in money market accounts. But then if interest rates drop, their yield goes down in those accounts and they're forced to flood into the market to get a better yield. And therefore, boom, everything just kind of takes off again. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
you nailed it. Once interest rates go down, money market's not as attractive. Now people are looking for other options, right? Right now they're just doing the lazy money, right? Oh, it's 4%. I don't have to do anything. This is great, right? I don't have to worry about it. Starts dropping, they're like, oh man, now it's at 2.5%. I better go find something, right? So that's one part. You nailed it. I think the other part there too, though, is smart investors buy the dip, right?
yes.
Most investors wait till things are all rosy and they're hearing positive news everywhere before they buy, right? So uh, a lot of that money market is not smart money, right? They're waiting till, oh, this is the best economy we've ever had. Okay, let's lock up some properties, folks. And your risk tolerance, right? That's where the money's made. So good. Okay. Anything else in the news that you wanted to touch on?
Nope, nope.
No.
Let's dive into some project updates. What do you got going on these days? Anything new since
Oh,
last week?
oh yeah, I got to make a Facebook post. So we were pouring footings on one project, and that's like my favorite. Like when action is happening, right? And there's
Nope.
nothing more intense than pouring concrete because if you screw it up, so there's always a ton of people on site. It's super fun. I realized this week that I need to get a hard hat. As soon as we started pouring the concrete, like rocks, like within the first 3 seconds, a rock came out of the concrete. We just started pouring. I was like 10 feet away, hit me right between the eyes, a
Oh,
rock.
jeez.
I was like, dude, I need glasses. I need a hard hat. Like, I need to get serious about this construction protection equipment.
Well,
So
as I thought, as like a developer, you're supposed to be like wearing a suit, but with a hard hat on and sunglasses next to your building as it's getting built, right? Isn't that like
yeah,
the
yeah,
quintessential
yeah.
image that you need
No,
to
you're right.
capture?
You're right. I need to
Yeah.
step it up. Yep.
Well, and you gotta pull up in the Bentley too. You get out of the Bentley, put your hard hat
Yeah.
on, you know.
Yeah, all that. And keep your truck away from my Bentley.
That's right.
uh, yeah, you're right. That's a good call. So I need to step that up. Two this week. This project is one where the architect, he just does not move fast. He's not expensive, right? And I knew him and I like him, but he just does not move fast. And he's not good at pushing the process, which ends up costing you money, right? And so I wasn't loving his designs, but I just said, okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Like I want to go to permit, right? And get this done. Opportunity cost of time, right? You always it's super expensive to go slow. So, once we got this project funded and in construction, now the stuff that really matters for me is the end consumer, right? What do they see? What do they experience? So I need to create a site that gives them exactly what they want. uh, High level of security, right? That's number one for people is security. So we do the gates, the fobs, like all those things to make the
Yep.
cameras, lighting, make people feel super secure. But the second thing is aesthetics. I got to make this thing look good. People don't know why they like something. They just like it. When they walk in your dental office, right? The nice calming sounds of acoustic guitar or coffee shop music, the pumped
Yep.
in scent air smells, right? They're like, I love this place. They don't even know why. And then somebody's smiling
Yeah.
at the front, right? And they're just
Yep.
like, yeah, well, it's because we manufactured why you like it. So it's just the same thing here as I've been diving in with a render artist, right? Like doing all different versions of things using like inexpensive materials, right? Because I don't live in San Francisco. I don't live in New York. We can't use the expensive materials. We got to use the everyday workforce housing materials, which is typically fiber cement.
Okay.
The and then you got to use or LP, which is like a think about siding on a house, right? There's fiber cement, which is like the more rigid, the lap siding, right? Like those
Yep.
horizontal. And then there's LP, which is very similar, but that's more of a pressed wood.
Yep.
Um, a little easier to install, doesn't crack, but a little more risky with water. So we tend to use the fiber cement up here since we're in the north. And then the third option is like that cheap stuff. What is that stuff? Like acrylic stuff. I can't remember. It looks terrible, but a lot of people use that too.
Okay.
So, anyways, we use the fiber cement, right? But there's different types of fiber cement. There's board and batten, right? The panels, the big
Yep.
4x8 fiber cement panels with the boards that run vertically. Those look nice. There's the lap siding, and then there's different widths of that. And then there's the panels themselves, which you can do well if you paint them right. So it's like, how do you mix these elements together with maybe a little accent? And I tend to use, because we're in the Northwest, of wood as an accent.
Yep.
So how do you do that in the most cost-effective manner, make people love it? So I've been diving into that. Super fun. So I think that's a good lesson to folks is like you got to allocate your resources and sometimes just move projects along and you can come back and do the aesthetics. You got to do it because that's what people are
Yep.
really buying, right? Inside and outside, but you can always do that later if you need to.
Yeah,
Um,
the last 10% of like the finishes that really encompass the full aesthetic, right? It's just that
yeah.
last little bit and it makes it's like you can build up composite veneers on 8 and 9, but if you don't polish, do the line angles, get the detail, I mean it doesn't matter. So that's what it's about.
Great analogy. The first 90% didn't matter if you don't do the last 10.
Yep.
Uh, Lending. So one of my projects, going out for lending, it's hard to push banks to get you a number, especially in the summer when it's golf time, right? Bankers become
Oh,
bankers for a reason.
yep, I've
But I will tell you, you got to do it, right? We tend to get about 8 different bids from lenders, and it's amazing. They'll for our apartments, they'll typically fall into like a couple groups. It's like the guys that want to charge you a little bit more, but they'll give you more money and they'll do it
seen.
fast. And we typically stack a couple folks there, like we'll stack um the main lender who charges more but it'll go fast, and then we stack like pref equity or mezz debt on top of that.
Mhm.
So the total amount, maybe you're getting 85% of the project cost.
Yeah.
So that's like one option, right? And you're like, wow, way less money in, which means that your returns are tend to be higher, right? Your cash on your if you're put in, half the money, then your returns could potentially be double. Now it's not actually that, because getting that much money, you pay more interest, right? And the interest rates are a little higher too, but you still tend to get a little better return. So that's one option. The second option is sometimes like the regional banks will just give you something. They just want the business, right? So they'll come hungry. So in my last project, I said, when everyone else was talking like 7% interest rates on construction, you were just talking like 8% today. This bank, like I'm literally in their backyard. I'm like a half a mile from the country club where they all hang out on this project, right? And so this credit union's like, we will give you a 6.5% interest rate. Like I think I ended up putting in like 17% cash on this one with a low interest rate. So great deal, right? So
Yep.
this other bank wants to move into town. And so you look at all these lending and it's like, oh, we need 3 million, we need 3.5 million from you, blah, blah, blah. One bank comes and say, like, we need 1.6 million. So one, I'm like, okay, these guys are hungry. Two, these guys may have no idea what they're talking about. And either during the process, they're going to find that out and
Yep.
retrade on me and say, hey, we can't do this. We were
Happens.
wrong.
It's yep.
Or it might work out, right? And they just have no idea along the entire process, and they give you this great deal. So, a key lesson here for folks: don't go get 3 bids. Literally get 8. Like canvas the market, because you're just looking for that 1 to 2 that really want your business or don't understand it and are going to give you like amazing rates. Don't
Mhm.
just go to your one lender, your two lenders. Really canvas the market.
And also, you have the luxury of time, right? Sometimes if you have to move quicker and you don't, you just like you have to choose the product that serves you. So if you need
Yep.
speed, right, or if you have
Yep.
more time, then you have the luxury of choosing, being more selective, really running the models to see what works best. But the more options you have, the better. I mean, no matter what, just more work. But I just a matter of spreadsheets, organization, follow up, and yeah, it'll pay out.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
The more
So
work, more developments you do, or real estate you do, your instincts will tell you when to push, 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 slow down, push, push,
mhm,
push, 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 slow down, right?
mhm.
So that just comes with repetition. It's a great point.
Yeah, so for me, since we are just kind of talking
Yep.
about, so one of the things we were just trying to extend one of our development loans or land loans, I should say. So we're working on that. We've been meeting with some co-developers. We mentioned this last week to
Yep.
help bring in some additional equity and help the project go vertical. And possibly maybe take over the GC side of it. So for people that don't realize, like when you start getting into really big loans, especially development, the bank doesn't just care about how much money you have, right? They want experience. And how do you get experience if you have not done a big project of this level from start to finish? You basically have to partner with someone because someone who's already done it, and then you kind of tag along with them. So then that builds your resume for the next project. So that's kind of where we are, is vetting potential partners. And there's not a ton of them because you're a specific market, and then you also have that specific size. And when you start to get to 50 million, $100 million potential development projects, like there's a smaller pool of people you can potentially partner with. And so we've been having some of those calls that are interesting. Ultimately, it's a matter of getting some term sheets in hand and then figuring out how to divide up the pie, because we have our equity in the deal, right? Investor equity, but also the value creation we've done through entitlement plans and permits, right? To try to get the ground shovel ready so that we can
Yeah.
just go vertical on it. And so
Yeah.
the developers like that because if you're already ahead, maybe a year and a half, 2 years into the process, so they can jump in kind of in that last leg, put their expertise on, and then go vertical. And some of those developers have really, they have good material. This is kind of interesting. I'm learning is just like they have good material partners where they can lower material costs on projects to make your underwriting even better. So that's kind of a fascinating world too. If you're kind of smiling there, Josh, but just learning a little bit more about that.
So yeah, what you're gonna learn is like if you every time like a dentist does like a home remodel or home construction process, right? Or an op, every time, especially a home, right? They're always like, yeah, like we went over 100% on our expected costs. We
Yeah.
had it tagged at 3 million, it ended up costing us 6 million, right? Or even if it's a remodel, it's typically like 30%. Like in my brain, it's like 30% is like the norm, overage on what you were told it was going to cost, right? You basically take the time and you add 50 to 100%. So if they say 6 months, it's really going to be 9 to 12. And if he says a million, it's going to be 1.3 million, right? Those are just rules of thumb when I talk to people about things. And then, yeah, no, I have a friend. Gosh, it blew my mind the other day. Like he's building a house, and like two of them. One of them, he's up to like, and these guys are like, they do quite well, like 7, 8 million on his house. The other guy's up to like 9 or
Oh
10,
gosh.
right? And they
Yep.
started at like, 3 million and 5 million, right? Like it's double, right?
Yep.
So it gets that way. And so with construction, it's the same way. You talk to the banks, and they're always putting these contingencies in there because they're worried that there's going to be overruns, right? Tariffs are going to raise prices, COVID's going to raise prices, like things these can happen because they see it.
Hmm.
But if your construction team is good at communicating with the subcontractors, who are the plumbers, the framers, all those things, and you're a real person, right? You talk to them like real people, not like a cold business, right?
Yep.
Like they know ways to cut costs. And
Hmm.
so on our current construction project, we're under budget on more subcontractors than we are over budget.
That's awesome.
We're net like under budget. So like the dirt work, right? We talked to our dirt guys. Hey, there's I forget what it's called, but there's this like area you can put down to like not knock dirt off tires and whatnot. And it's like 10 grand. We're like, do we really need this or can we just do this? We don't need it. Gone, right? Retention pond. It's gonna be like 25,000 bucks to do it. The county wants their retention pond a little bigger, right? Now the county's gonna pay me money to buy some of my land that we weren't even using, and then we get a drain into their retention pond. So A, I get paid for land that was dead land, and B, now I don't have to build this retention pond, right? So it's like you're both saving money and making money. And then there were like two other things we did with the dirt work. Oh, we moved our sewer a little bit. That's going to save us another 20, 30 grand from what we did with architectural originally. So like if you're aware of all the parts of the bid, so a land like dirt bids, maybe like 30 items. We just kind of go through those 30 items with those guys and like, hey, now that we're here, like, is there any of the stuff that we actually don't need to do or any better
Yep.
solutions, right? So you're thinking as you go, you
Yep.
can cut. And dentists, running our practices, if we have time, we do this
Mhm.
naturally, right? We're
Yes.
not going to pay $10 for this composite when we could pay $8 here, right?
Yep.
So same concept. So
It's
yes, find that right contractor that does that, not the one that just wants to do volume, right?
yes.
Or
Yeah.
split it with them 50-50. Half the
It
savings go to the contractor, half the savings go to you.
yes. I can't remember what that's called, right? You get that gross max contract, but then you do the sub, is it a sub buyback? What's it called? What is it called where you essentially the GC basically goes back, rebids all the subs again, and you guys kind of split the difference on that? Have you done?
I haven't termed it. We just
Oh,
say 50-50. Yeah. So we do
yeah.
GMP. So the max, like a max contract. So
Yes.
dentists, when you build something and costs go up, there are max contracts where like the contractor takes the risk, right?
Yes.
And so that's the other thing when people build a house or no, so like in my brain, I'm like, just get a max contract and then you don't have to worry about that, right? And
Yeah.
then you just have to push them on timing, right? And then
Yes.
you penalize them if they go over a certain amount of time. But then it's like, okay, how do you align incentives? Well, if you've agreed to a max contract that you like and they like, and then the 50-50 thing, now they're super incentivized, just like you to save those costs, right?
Yep.
And so that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Max contract plus 50-50 split or 75-25.
In general, life, it should be about if you're trying to negotiate business deals, align incentives more than anything else, right? Like
Mhm.
that's the key there is like we have to be in alignment and then we make sure we're rowing in the right direction, everyone wins. I mean, if you can, the more of those you can set up, the better. I mean, ultimately will lead to a better result for you.
I want them on my team.
Yep. Yep.
Right. uh
So one other
any other, yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
I was
one
saying any
last thing
other.
quick, and then we'll get into the topic because we're kind of getting long on time here. But the other thing was you and I talked about HUD loan last time, so we're looking to refinance using a HUD loan. So the preliminary appraisals are coming back pretty crazy, which we'll see, right? Once we do that. HUD is very expensive on the front end, all the fees. But if they're talking about a 35-year AM and a 35-year term, and if this aligns 5 months from now, like we hit when interest rates dip a little bit, man, this is going to be cash flowing like crazy. It's going to be good. I mean, it's just in the on the front end here, and I mean, we're talking about possibly like 150% return of capital or something like that. Something wild. So I'll stay tuned. It'll be a while, but just on the front end, it's looking interesting. It's looking good.
When investors, it's always, are you looking for yield, like max return overall, or cash flow? What I tell people is like getting cash flow up front, unless you're lending, right, doesn't really happen, right? And so when does it happen? Well, it happens when you add value and you refi, right? Or over the next 10, 20 years. So this is why Reid is talking about potential cash back and cash flows, because they've already bought it, they've already added the value, and now they're at the refi point. So don't expect this to happen on the front end, but this often does happen a year, 2, 3 years down the road. So
Yeah,
great work, Reid.
we're looking to hit it at like 17 months or something from initial acquisition. So not bad, not too bad. We'll see.
So good, so
Yep.
tasty. Uh, the last
Time.
thing I've been talking about this week, yeah, we can mention this next week. Okay, so that's a wrap for In the News and weekly updates.